Hello, this is Tammy Whitten from WomenManagingStress.com with part 4 in our series on the power of positive parenting. Today we're going to focus on the second of our 5 principles, and we're going to talk about having a stimulating and creative learning environment for kids. As parents, we want our children to be smart, we want them to be creative, we want them to explore and to do. Sometimes we fail to remember just the power of play and what that does in regards to teaching. Sometimes we're afraid to let them do too much engaging with toys because we feel like they should be doing a lot of things with learning environments. Things like the Leap Pads or Sesame Street, or even as they get older, other educational games and resources. One thing I want you to remember is that play is the business of children. And even things like imaginary friends, playing by themselves, sharing, even getting into some tips with kids where they're tugging over a toy or they're fussing over, I asked you first or it's my turn, are great ways that they learn social skills along with other educational pieces. So let's get into the principles in this type of environment. So, how do we keep things positive? One of the things to remember is that everything is an opportunity for kids to learn. Even when we're not actively sitting down and singing the ABCs with them or teaching them how to write their name, drilling them on multiplication tables or spelling words, there's always a way that they're learning. They're learning about how we handle our tempers or frustrating situations when we have road rage. They're learning about how to plan and how to think ahead by how we manage things getting out the door places. They also learn when we're cooking and we can engage them. Kids love to stir. Cracking an egg is almost a milestone that I'm finally old enough to do this. They love to help mix up cakes or roll out things with cookies and all that. Even things with dinner, not just the sweet stuff too, even though I have a big sweet tooth. They love to help with the garden. They will stack pots and pans while we're cooking, and sometimes it feels like a mess for us, but it's sometimes if we can get used to the fact that that cabinet is where they're allowed to play and drag out and put in, and we're not going to be so OCD about how those things fit in. They'll learn a lot about structuring and stacking and all of these other cognitive skills that happen at a young age like that. Buttons is a great cheap thing. If you sew, or even if you're just in a dollar store, you can grab a bag of them. It's a great way for them to learn how to sort and group all the big ones versus all the small ones, all the red ones over here and all the white ones over here. Sorting and organizing is another fun thing, so helping us organize the bathroom cabinets or drawers in the kitchen, all of those are how they learn, and they learn and want to emulate us. So that's why a lot of the toys, they have a small shopping cart, they have small laptops and cell phones, and they imitate what we're doing because they learn best that way. So how can we make this positive learning environment there? One way is to spend time with your child. And I want you to keep in mind that I know many of you are busy, you have other children, you might be in school yourself, you might have a very demanding job, or maybe a big project on your desk right now. So those small moments and time spans that you spend are worth it, and they do make a difference. So don't beat yourself up if you haven't spent hours and hours with them. Another thing is to speak nicely. It's easy to beat ourselves up for this, but it's also easy that we don't realize just what we are saying. Sometimes I have a tendency, because I'm very motivated and trying to check things off, and I've always got 300 things going on, I don't always remember to be positive. Sometimes it's hard for me because I'm like, well, you're supposed to do that. But it's nice to be recognized for those things along the way. So the tone of voice, the speed with which we talk to them, the loudness or softness that we speak, the words. You know, some people are more sensitive to certain words than others, and know what words your child tends to like more. Another piece is to chat and listen often. Again, these don't have to be big increments of time, but often is sometimes better than one long 3-hour session with your child. Because of technology, you can text message with your kids, and that will count as chatting. You can FaceTime and Skype and do Hangouts with them, regardless of how old they are. Spend time with them. Riding in the car together is a great one. And with all the seatbelt changes that have happened over the last decade or so, children aren't in the front seat with their parents as much, or at least not until they get to a certain age. And because of the distance and even us trying to juggle things on our phones or things with the radio or them watching TV, being in the car together is something that we do a lot, and it's a great time to chat with them. Share your own experiences. Kids love hearing about you. It can be a time when you did the same thing they were doing, like when you were learning how to ride a bike and you fell off. It can be about something really fun that happened during your day or funny at work. It might even be about your own test that you're studying for and a little nervous about. They love to feel like they are like you and to know about you. Being affectionate is so big. As a therapist, I see so many adults that come in my office and they say, I didn't grow up in a touchy-feely house. We're just not huggy people. And there's a part of them that is okay with that because they're not used to touching and reaching out. And they're also a little afraid when that touch happens. But there's a little part of them that craves that. So if you happen to not be one of those big huggy-feely people, things like a high five, you can even have your own jokes and things that you do with people. I grew up in a martial arts family, so sometimes we showed affection by actually pulling a punch from them. I know that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But we would sometimes throw each other on the floor, and it was all done in play. But there's lots of ways that we can be affectionate. A wink is another way, if you're not all that touchy-feely, that you can do things. Descriptive praise is another one. And here's what we mean by descriptive praise. It's easy to say, good job, awesome, excellent. But descriptive praise takes it a step further and says, you did a great job sweeping the floor tonight. Or, the way you loaded the dishwasher was fantastic. You did better than I do. We want to tell them what they did that was great because that increases the chances of them doing it again. This tip also works with spouses, boyfriends and girlfriends, roommates, co-workers. Give them that specific descriptive praise. Attention, and a lot of these strategies are ways that we give attention with the praise or the listening and the speaking and the time. But give them attention when we're not distracted, and when you can, when you do have 20 minutes to spare or maybe a little bit more, give them attention in a way that means something to them. Incidental teaching is the next to the last one that we're going to hit on today. And this is when they come to you about something. And that shows that they want to learn. So if they come to you with, Mommy, what's this paint? How do you use it? Or I'm in the middle of doing this. These are great times to stop what we're doing, look them in the eyes, smile, and say, tell me about this. Tell me about this picture. Who's in it? Tell me what color eyes they have. We're getting them to tell us and be excited about their own creations and things. Make a comment that shows your interest to get them to continue doing what they're doing. One of the most notorious and awkward times when kids come to us with questions, and it's the time for incidental teaching, is in talking about boy parts and girl parts and the birds and the bees and what happens as they get older. And many parents are a little nervous about this. So when it comes to some of those awkward topics, it may be about why are mommy and daddy divorcing or something even of that nature, give them the answer to just what they ask and give it to them on a bite-sized level. And that'll keep it easier. And then as the conversation continues, they'll let you know when they're done and when they need to keep learning. And then the last part is to get involved in your child's school. And I would like to add even other activities as much as possible. Luckily, teachers email and call and do things a little bit more than they used to, so you can keep that up if your time prevents you from being able to get there as much as you would like. But be involved in other things outside of school. If they're in soccer, if they're in volleyball, martial arts, if they're learning gymnastics, if they are an avid colorer, get involved with what they are doing. And those are the things that they will treasure and remember the most. So today ends part 4. We've got a about 2 or 3 more segments that we're going to do in this series about the power of positive parenting. And I hope, even though some of this may be very familiar to most of you, that you're picking up on some fine-tuned details and finesse skills that will help to make things very happy in your home. Talk to you soon.